Ghostbusters. There's something strange in the neighborhood. Who are you gonna call? Ghostbusters. If you know what day it is, and I'm gonna tell you what I'm gonna say. What is today? Happy Ghostbusters Day! Yes, folks, today is June 8th, 2023, and today marks the 39th anniversary of Ghostbusters, the original from 1984, which, of course, I got it from the Ultimate Collector series that contains the bonus features. It contains the first film, the second one, as well as Ghostbusters Afterlife. No love for the 2016 reboot, unless you want to get it from here if you can buy it digitally, which, of course, that's the only thing they can add to it. So, and of course, yes, I'm wearing my Ghostbusters t-shirt, Who You Gonna Call, with the Ecto-1. And of course, I already mentioned about the Blu-ray, which of course, I have copies of the first film on VHS, DVD, Blu-ray, and then Ultra HD. As well as the amazing documentary, Cleaning Up the Town, Remembering Ghostbusters. And of course, I actually have this cool-looking vinyl. It's very sweet. It's a collector's series. So, if I'm going to do something special Ghostbusters Day related, I'm not going to do like a commentary or a movie review, which I know I've done those before, but of course I actually have done a commentary live on my Facebook page. So, if I'm going to do something special today, because the last time I ever done anything Ghostbusters related, I done my top 10 favorite ghosts in the Ghostbusters series, which is still on my channel. I'll put the link below the description on my YouTube channel if you guys want to see it, as well as my movie reviews and so on and so forth. And of course, yes, there is a new Ghostbusters movie coming out later this year around Christmas, which I'm looking forward to, especially after we had that promising start with Ghostbusters Afterlife, which I really love that movie. Then I'm looking forward to seeing McKenna Grace, Carrie Coon, and pretty much the OGs coming back. Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, Ernie Hudson, Annie Potts, as well as Walter Peck himself, William Masterton. So today, I'm going to do something really special here. As I said before, I'm about to give you top 12 things that you may have not noticed when you were watching Ghostbusters. Other thing to talk about some behind the scenes stuff, but also about scenes that when you watch many, many times, you notice something very new that you did not notice. And that's what I'm going to do today. So, strap in your proton packs and get ready because you're about to pull your PKA meter because you're about to see something new, but what you did not know about Ghostbusters. So, here it is. I give you my top 12 things that we did not know about Ghostbusters. Number 12. What bottle was Peter and Ray drinking? After getting fired from the university, Peter and Ray are having a conversation about what to do with their future, while Peter carries a bottle that happens to be a Hiram Walker apricot flavored brandy. Did a little research on it, as it is an alcoholic beverage made from fruity flavors and named after Hiram Walker, who is known for the founder of Canadian Club Whiskey. So there you have it. In order to ease the pain, just have yourself a brandy and help you find your future success. Number 11. Ghostbusters Firehouse used in other movies. As we all know how iconic this firehouse is, and there have been many fans to pay a visit, but did you know that this was used in other movies? As you see here, this building is the Firehouse Hook and Ladder Company in downtown Manhattan. It was besides other Ghostbusters movies, but it appeared in some episodes of Seinfeld and How I Met Your Mother, and it was used in the Will Smith rom-com Hitch. The interiors, on the other hand, were filmed at the fire station number 23 in downtown Los Angeles, and were also used in Flatliners, National Security, Firehouse, Police Academy 2, and the famous Jim Carrey movie, The Mask. Wouldn't it be funny if The Mask were in the same universe in Ghostbusters as Stanley Ipkiss walks in the same way as Dana Barrett did while it's fixing up the car? I think so. Number 10. Non-extra. If you look closely during the beginning of the montage, you can notice a guy in the background wearing denim clothing as he just happens to walk by while the crew was filming. He was just looking what's going on, but the cameras kept rolling and none of the crew bothered to ask him to leave. So he remains in the film and nothing more to say about it. Number 9. Ghostbusters theme song was a ripoff?
Ray Parker Jr., as we all know, he had made this seem an icon, which it would turn into a music video with famous cameo celebrities, and earn an Oscar nomination for Best Song, but lost to Stevie Wonder's of The Woman in Red. However, his son wasn't original. Another famous singer of the 80s, Huey Lewis from Huey Lewis and the News, who are known for their work on Power, Love, and Back in Time for Back to the Future, has sued Parker for plagiarizing his tunes on his well-known song, I Want a New Drug. If you go to YouTube and type about the comparisons between the two, you'll see what I mean. Of course, the court had to be settled, and Columbia Pictures had to pay for the settlement, and in 2001, Lewis would comment about it in an episode of VH1's Behind the Music, which later Parker would sue him for breach of confidentiality. Also, Huey Lewis was offered to write the song, but turned it down. So yeah, the song may not be original, but it's still an iconic song, and everyone still is listening to it today. Number 8. Winston shows up late. If you have been noticing while watching the movie, as the first set was more Peter, Ray, and Egon before entering the second half, in one of the earlier drafts of the script, Winston did in fact appear in the beginning along with the other characters, as the role was originally written for Eddie Murphy. Unfortunately, he turned the role down because he had to go work on Beverly Hills Cop, so the role would have to be shortened and was given to Ernie Hudson. Hudson himself admitted that the role was small, and he wished if it was a bigger role than he was given. Despite this, he was happy to be a part of the series and has fans who admired him. Maybe a small role, but Hudson did make an impression. Number 7. Name issues. The film's title Ghostbusters was going to some trouble, as there was a live-action TV show that happens to have the same name, which was called The Ghostbusters from 1985 by Universal Studios, and its animated counterpart from Filmation. So Columbia had to pay Filmation to license the name, while the cast and crew had to film a commercial which would appear in the finished film, but had to say different names such as Ghostblasters, Ghostbreakers, Ghost Stoppers, and Ghost Smashers, if they can't use the name Ghostbusters. Until then, the license was secure, and Ghostbusters would end up being the film's official title. Same goes for that, because I don't think any of those titles that I mentioned would sound good. Think about it. Number 6. Gozer's voice was dubbed. That's right. The voice you heard is not from this actress. Zafisia Jovan, a Serbian model and actress, had a very thick accent, which it did occur the rest of the cast and crew, especially hearing her voice, where she says choose and perish, which Bill Murray would tease her that her line delivery sounds like Jews and berries. Get it? Jews and berries? So her voice had to be replaced by Patty Edwards, who you may recognize her in a couple of Disney movies such as The Little Mermaid and Hercules. Yep, she may have an unusual accent, but it had to be replaced because there was no way her voice would be used because it doesn't sound, dare I say, evil. So it had to be replaced, and Edwards' voice really matches the character. Number 5. Cameo time. See that guy on the left? That is Ron Jeremy, who was known as a porn star for starring in nothing but adult films. Yeah, moving on. How about the cop in the jail scene? That's Reggie Johnson, who you know him as Carl Winslow in Family Matters, and Sergeant Al Powell in the Bruce Willis movie Die Hard. Heck, Walter Peck himself was also in Die Hard. As it has been a year since the passing of Jason Reitman's father, Ivan Reitman, who is no longer with us, he has made some appearances in Ghostbusters. Not physically, but by voice. He was the voice of Slimer, and he was the demonic voice of Zool when Dana was possessed. And to top it off, the last cameo of Ghostbusters is Casey Kasem, who was the radio announcer that appeared in the montage where Dana is making dinner. Also, his widow wife, Jean Kasem, appears in the film where Louis Telly is hosting a party. Lastly, you may recognize him as the voice of Shaggy in Scooby-Doo. Yep, Shaggy was in Ghostbusters. Guess we need a crossover, huh? Number 4. Bill Murray and Rick Moranis were not the first choice. While I already mentioned about Eddie Murphy, who was originally going to be playing Winston before Ernie Hudson was cast, the role of Peter Fagman that Dan Aykroyd wrote was originally written for John Belushi, as they know each other from Saturday Night Live and the Blues Brothers. Sadly, Belushi died due to being intoxicated with drugs, as the role was given to Murray, but will only participate in the movie if Columbia was willing to give The Razor's Edge a green light. They said yes, and Murray was Fagman. As for the role of Louis Telly, it was originally intended for John Candy, as there had been images of him while Ghostbusters was storyboarded. Candy wasn't sure, but thought he would try with a German accent and have 2 shepherd dogs. Director Ivan Reitman says it's complicated as they already have 2 dogs on the roof. So Candy turned it down, and the role was given to Rick Moranis, who understands the script better than Candy. Well, as they say, you win some and you lose some. As a bonus, during production, Dan Aykroyd given Slimer the nickname as the ghost of John Belushi, as it reminds him of Bluto from Animal House. Very interesting. Number 3. Gozer was originally a man. Before Sylvester Jovan was cast, the role was originally going to be played by PeeWee Herman himself, Paul Rubens, as Evil Shandor. Although Rubens turned it down, the character was changed into a woman, as the character is being described as a cross between Grace Jones and David Bowie, which led Sylvester Jovan be chosen to play the role. Of course, Evil Shandor would later appear in Ghostbusters Afterlife and would be played by J.K. Simmons. Like Egon says in the film, it's whatever it wants to be. Also, who wouldn't want to see PeeWee Herman as the Destructor, if anyone could take him seriously? Number 2. The Dream Ghost scene was real. Yeah, I know I talk about this ghost a lot on my past videos, as well as my top 10 favorite ghosts in the Ghostbusters series, but I might as well talk about it again, so why the heck not? As I said earlier, the scene that happened in the movie was in fact a real scene and not a dream scene. So here's what it was supposed to be as we go scene by scene. After Ray and Winston talk about the end of the world, they enter Fort Demarine as they come out of the Ecto-1 while talking to a park ranger as there has been a disturbance. They assure him not to worry as they will believe in anything. So they gear up as Ray tells Winston to check the armory while he checks out the room to see if he can get any readings. They split up, then Ray enters the room as no readings were picking up, but he ends up being distracted by many historical artifacts that he's fascinated with. So he noticed the wardrobe with the military jackets being hung up, which leads him to remove all of his gears and equipment while unzipping his jumpsuit halfway. Then puts on the jacket, hat, and picking up the sword as he steps into a full-length mirror, posing a general. So that explains why Ray wore this funny-looking jacket and not his gear that he's wearing and having a sword sitting next to the bed. But picking up where I left off, Ray stops having fun with himself as he noticed the bed by testing how comfortable it is. Then he picks up a book as he reads it, but doesn't understand French, as he says, La religion de notre centra et civilisataya, which means religion of civil core and civilizer. Then he drops the book, he yawns, and he leans himself back with his eyes closed and starts going into deep sleep. Then suddenly, one of his equipment flashes red as the doors from the wardroom open with a pink shimmering light as an unseen force peeks through the wardrobe while Ray's equipment is still flashing red. A mist slithers out of the wardrobe like a snake and goes through the bed as light sheds upon his face. He rolls over, opens his eyes slowly as the mist itself slowly lowers down to take position over Ray's body as it starts to morph, which begins to look very human. Very feminine. It is now a ghost of a beautiful woman as she becomes more attracted to Ray. At first, Ray was scared, but ends up being gazed upon her beauty. And you know the rest. She slides away from him as Ray tries to sit up. She disappears in the thin air as the room darkens. He looks around and, uh-oh! Something's happening below him as she undoes his belt and pants while exposing his tighty-whitey underwear. Then Ray makes a funny face with his eyes crossed, and he lays back on the bed as she is just trying to show him to, well, just lay back on the bed and try have a good time, honey. Winston returns to check on Ray as he hears a noise, knocks on the door and asks him if he's okay. Ray responds, "Later, man!" Winston shrugs and leaves Ray alone. The reason behind this delete scene was that it was supposed to give Ray a love interest, but it broke the pacing of the film as the story was happening very fast, so the third film act had to be cut so we can focus more on what's happening right now as opposed to wasting time about why is Ray spending some time with a ghost. But as an afterthought, Ivan Reitman came up with the idea by turning this scene into a dream scene, which ended up being most out of place of the film. So, when you watch it, you go like, what just happened? Of course, Ray would have a love interest named Jenny Morant in the comics where she was alive and becomes a ghost. before I wrap things up here are some of the behind the scenes on how the special effects team were able to get the pants off. Which, of course, for today's technology, you would have had some guy in a chroma key suit who to undo the belt of pants. But instead, this was all done practically. As you can tell by the photo right here, that originally this was supposed to be a composite shot of combining a live-action footage with an elaborate pair of self-unzippy pants. But it ended up being shot at the straight 35mm due to a pressure schedule. As featured in the amazing documentary Clean Up the Town Remember Ghostbusters, which I highly recommended, Stuart Sibb, head of the Ghost Shop, explains that they worked very hard to get it right, as he hired Alan Coulter, mechanical animator, to build the whole mechanism. Coulter says it was done by using little bits of wire, some stretch beams that you curl up, pull apart, tweak, yank, and bend on, that kind of stuff. And then he later said that they used condoms and an air inflation device, which he guessed if it was important to the gag to make it work. Of course, as I highlight, you can notice the tab on his trousers being lifted and the zipper sticking out due to the wire. Also, you could see the wire or spring strap on the belt, which is done to make it unbuckle, and Ray's left arm is actually a stand-in as he puts the sleeve on as if it were seeing the whole body and not just a puppet. So this is how the special effects were done today. But of course, this was pretty much for a PG-rated movie.
And speaking of PG rating, that's going to be the number one thing I'm going to talk about. So, and the number one thing you did not know about Ghostbusters is Ghostbusters was not a kids movie. Yes, folks, it's true. Even though you may show it to your kids, but sometimes they're going to ask you a lot of questions about these things, and when you hear these lines of dialogue that they don't get, especially that dream ghost thing that came out of nowhere, especially you need to know, like, what is appropriate and what is not. So, this was a different time back then in the 80s, especially when Ghostbusters was rated PG. I mean, come on. You know I can't say these lines, but especially I don't want to swear on camera. Especially when you have a line where Bill Murray says to the mayor when the mayor was asking if Walter Peck is telling the truth. And then Feynman just says, yes, it's true. This man has no beep. Or, look, we know about the step up here. We know this guy all along here. But he's a sailor. He's in New York. We'll get this guy L word and we won't have any trouble. You know, lines like that. Because when you bring your kid to watch this movie here and you watch it with the whole family, you know, you're about to see it, you're going to have a good time with it. But sometimes when you watch it, you know, like, we can't let this kid know about this. We can't let our son and daughter know about what's going on with the scene. And that's so inappropriate or so out of nowhere. I mean, we can't do this. So, yes, folks. It may be a PG rated movie, but it's not that kind of a PG movie like today's movies. This film had like an edge. It has some of this adult humor you did not understand, and it has some moments that you will never understand either. Even I will admit, when I was a kid, I didn't get the whole idea of, aside from the dialogue, which I was unable to notice it until I noticed today, as an adult, which I now finally get. But even as a kid, as I've already mentioned about the Dream Ghost scene, as of course I know I've already talked about this in my top 10 favorite ghosts in the Ghostbusters series. Like I said before, my interpretation from the eyes of a child, I mean, even you have a kid, you could just make all the story you want, saying like, oh, the reason why she took his pants off is because Ray peed the bed, or she's trying to get into his jammies, or tell him to go night, or his tummy hurts because he has to lose the pants off, or he's just, give me a little tickle. But from my interpretation, aside from Watch Mojo's own interpretation when they saw the whole Dream Ghost saying it's a big fan of Cheez-Its, my interpretation was, from the eyes of a child, I just saw that she was just taking his pants off because she doesn't want him to wear pants. She forbids him. She hates seeing him wearing those pants. But she had to get him off because this ghost is a huge fan of underwear. And she loves underwear. And if she ever spoke anything to Ray, she would just say, undies rule. So yes, that's how I interpret it as, because this whole scene was something more about Dan Aykroyd's underwear. Especially for a friend of mine, which again, I can't say her name, which I know I've already mentioned that before in my last video. A friend of mine just calls her the undie ghost. So, yeah. So yes, PG, as they may say, but even you look at today's movies, this film could have been easily got like a PG-13 rating, or heck, it would have gotten like an R rating. Also, one thing I need to show you is from the storyboards that I was not using in the movie that they were going to use in the film, but unfortunately it remains on the script. There was a scene that got cut in the film when during the montage of when the ghosts started taking over the city after the containment unit was shut down. There was a scene in the that was cut that a ghost who was being cheeky and starts harassing all the women here when the ghost just keeps opening up their blouses, pulling down their panties, and unzipping their skirts, you know, all that stuff. But the filmmakers really thought it just seems very tasteless, and they said it seems a bit too much, so they had to lose that scene. If you want to look it up, it's pretty much, you could probably find it on the DVD Blu-ray extras or that bonus disc where you click on storyboards, and then I think it'll be titled as Cheeky Ghost. Or just go to a website, which I strongly recommend, called Spook Central, which has a lot of info about Ghostbusters. It's a very good website. It has a lot of behind the scenes, deleted scenes, storyboards, and so on and so forth. I do recommend that website. So, to top it all off, even though as a kid, we did not get the jokes, but the more you watch it, the more older you get, the more how funny Ghostbusters is. And Ghostbusters, without doubt, will always be one of the greatest comedies of all time. So, that's it for today, and thank y'all for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this video, and my next stop is, I'm going to watch Ghostbusters, the first movie, and maybe sometime today I may watch the second movie, and definitely watch Ghostbusters Afterlife. So, thank you for watching this video, and let me know what you think. Do you like it? Do you not like it? Let me know. And also, if you notice anything in Ghostbusters that you did not notice, please feel free to put your comments down below, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button. So let me know. I'd like to know if there's anything you may have noticed that caught you off guard while watching the movie that you did not notice while watching the film Ghostbusters. Because it's one of those movies you can watch over and over again, and the more you watch it, the more you'll spot something new. And, just to follow from this video, sooner or later, I'm about to do a list of sayings of what you did not know about The Wizard of Oz. And that will be my next video to talk about. Because I have been watching this movie before, and I've been noticing things that are new that none of us ever noticed. So, anyway, thank you, and happy Ghostbusters Day. Busted makes me feel good.